Please support the Feral Druid army. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. Meow.
Meow everybody, what is going on? It is Olphus, and today I'm doing a guide for Feral Druid PvP in the long-awaited patch 7.3. There's a lot of exciting stuff happening here in this patch. We have some talent moves and changes, as well as some damage buffs and increases. So let me go over the talents for you, the honor talents. We can do a little walkthrough and talk about the rotation and burst as well. Let's start off here with the talents. This is just going to be a commentary talking over the different talents, something simple and easy, fast to understand, you know, something that everybody can comprehend, and it'll go pretty quickly. So here is the talent tree for 7.3. As you can see, it looks pretty similar, but we have some stuff moved around. Like we have Jagged Wounds sitting next to Incarn, we have Brutal Slash sitting next to Sabertooth, and we have Elun's Guidance on the bottom row, as well as Savage Roar on the level 90 row. So let's talk about the preferred talents for PvP. It's going to look a little bit similar to the 7.2.5 and prior talents for PvP. On the first row, of course, we go with Lunar Inspiration. Going with Lunar Inspiration gives you a Moonfire, giving you the ability to use Moonfire in cat form, and Moonfire will generate 1 combo point towards your finishers, and it will also put a dot on enemies. This is useful for classes like rogues, because then they have to cloak as shadows to get the dot off of them. Otherwise, the Moonfire dot can get them out of stealth, and that is really good. So having the ranged damage and combo point generation is great, and that's why that's the talent that I prefer in PvP. For the second row, I go with Wild Charge. The reason why I go with Wild Charge is because it has a 15-second cooldown. It's usable in all forms: cat form, travel form, bear form. You can use it in regular form just to jump to a friendly target, but you can use it in travel to jump away. Plus, you know, the 15-second cooldown is great as opposed to the 30-second cooldown on Displacer Beast. I do like to pick up Renewal in 1v1 situations sometimes, because it can be very good for getting a 30% heal off in like World PvP or dueling situations. So kind of mess around with those two talents depending on what you're doing, but arenas, I do prefer Wild Charge a lot of the times. For the next row, I go with Guardian Affinity simply because I see myself sitting in bear form to survive and mitigate as much damage as possible. Going with Guardian Affinity will give you a 6% damage reduction, and it'll give you the ability to use Mangle, Iron Fur, and Frenzied Regeneration. And Frenzied Regeneration is phenomenal. As we can see, it heals you for 50% of all damage taken in the last 5 seconds. Over 3 seconds. So if we get bursted down, you can heal up, get a lot of health back from whatever was dealt to you, and it comes in handy a lot of the times. And for the next row, we have Mighty Bash, and Mighty Bash is just one of those abilities that I always love having because it's a stun. It lasts 5 seconds. It's on a short 50-second cooldown, and it is great for peeling for your healer, or stunning somebody up for survivability, or stunning somebody up to set up for some kills, and, you know, just CC in general. It's really nice to have Mighty Bash over any of the other abilities in PvP. For the next row, we have Incarnation, and I still feel like Incarn is the prime. Whoa, that guy's coming at me pretty quick. I feel like Incarn is still the primary ability or talent to use. I didn't know that guy moved. But because there were some changes to Incarn, they reduced the maximum energy cost of, or the energy cost of abilities in cat form from 60% to 50%, and you can only use Prowl 1 time in it, whereas before you could use Prowl as many times as you wanted. Granted, the cooldown on Prowl was available, but you know, it's still great. You know, you get that shred damage, you get the rake damage, you also have the ability to use more abilities because, you know, you get that 50% energy reduction on the cost. So that's why I go with that. You know, Jagged Wounds is reduced from 33% or 30% to 20%, so that's okay, but in PvP situations, Incarn is probably going to be the prime talent to pick up all the time, at least at this point. For the next row, we have Sabretooth, which is a great ability, giving you 20% increased damage on your Ferocious Bite, and it'll refresh Rip if used, and it's a great talent to choose. I'm not sure where exactly you would pick it. I think that the preferred and primary talent to use in PvP is going to be Brutal Slash, though, because Brutal Slash has 3 charges on a short 9.5 second recharge. 9.27, I think that's about half almost. But you know, it strikes for a lot of damage. You get the 3 charges. It's low energy. It only costs 20 energy to use, so you can use this quite often, and it is amazing. So you can line up some kills, use that Brutal Slash, man, and it's an AoE ability, so that makes everything even better. For the last row, we have Blood Talons, and I still believe that Blood Talons is the primary talent to use, even though in 7.3 they reduce the damage of the next 2 melee abilities from 50% to 20% when Blood Talons is active. Now this can be seen as a major nerf, although because they did buff the damage of Feral Druids overall, it kind of cancels it out, and instead of Blood Talons being like necessary, like you need your Blood Talons, they're trying to make it so that, you know, your abilities do damage on their own, and Blood Talons is just a little bit extra. It's a little bit of a oomph, you know? It's good to have Blood Talons, but if you miss it, it's less punishing on you if you're not able to actually use Blood Talons on your bleeds and keep them up, though you still want to use Blood Talons on all of your bleeds. And since bleeds are lasting longer, you might be able to use it on Brutal Slash or a Ferocious Bite, depending on your situation. PvP is always different, but always use Blood Talons on bleeds like Rake and Rip as a priority, and even Ashmane's Frenzy when it comes available. Let's move on to the honor talents really quick. We have, you know, honor talents are kind of a hit or miss depending on the situation you run. I like to go with Gladiator's Medallion. It's the safe choice, and it's very good. You know, you can go with Adaption or Relentless depending on your arena situation. We also have for the second row Hardiness, which is great in arenas, especially if you have a healer topping you off and keeping you at full and you're not the kill target. You know, you're able to survive quite well with Hardiness. Reinforced Armor, though, is a good choice as well in battleground situations, and if you're in a arena situation where there's heavy melee, you got a warrior, a demon hunter, a DK, you know, a rogue, anything like that, you know, you can go with Sparring, because Sparring is good against melee. And for the third row, we have ourselves Tooth and Claw, which I do pick up if I'm going up against casters. Tooth and Claw is amazing, and sometimes I'll even use it in melee situations because it increases your maximum health and your damage done in bear form. It also gives you the ability to use Enraged Maul, which does a heaping amount of damage while you're in bear form. And if you're going with Guardian Affinity, you already got some perks to be in bear form already, and in PvP, bear form is pretty important to use. And we also have Thorns. Thorns is good because it'll slow any attackers attacking the target with thorns on them, and it'll deal 5% damage to the target who is attacking you if they use an ability on you, and you know, it basically deals damage back because you get the whole idea of having thorns on you. You get punched, you know, you're punching thorns, man. You don't want to punch thorns, it hurts. For the next row, we have ourselves Savage Momentum, and I feel like Savage Momentum is my go-to primary honor talent here, because whenever you interrupt a spell with Skull Bash, it will reset the cooldown of Tiger's Fury, and using this is amazing. You can use it in arenas to get a big boost in your energy, a big boost in damage. Whenever you pop Tiger's Fury, you're able to pump out more damage, you're able to sustain a better pool of energy, and it just being able to interrupt is amazing. You can cut your Tiger's Fury cooldown essentially in half, since it's a 30-second cooldown on your Tiger's Fury, and your Mighty Bash, or your Skull Bash rather, is a 15-second cooldown. So if you can Skull Bash, sorry, pretty much, you know, every 15 seconds, you can get a good cooldown on there on Tiger's Fury. But it is dependent on interrupts, though, I will say that. For the next row, we have Enraged Maim, which I like to go with 100% of the time, although Earthen Grasp can be great, especially because it reduces the target's chance to hit by 80%, and it's not dispellable, so you can use that in many different situations. Just remember that that is there and it's available. King of the Jungle can be used in Battlegrounds, giving you a big movement speed increase, up to 12%. When using Rip on targets. You can get it active on quite a few targets, especially if you're spreading bleeds and that is your primary objective, let's say rated Battlegrounds or just Battlegrounds in general. And down for the final row, we have Ferocious Wound, which I just absolutely love, and I'm not sure why. I guess it could be because it reduces the target's health by 25% for 20 seconds when active. All you have to do is put a Ferocious Bite on the target and it will reduce their health by 25%. It is great, it is amazing, and I love using it. Fresh Wound can be good in Battlegrounds, I guess, or other situations where you're spreading bleeds around, because it increases the critical strike chance of your Rake by 60%. And in Battlegrounds or rated Battlegrounds, I do enjoy slowing up enemies with my Rake, because Rake also does apply a slow, so you can run around to enemies applying Rake, getting some big crits, and slowing them at the same time. Let's talk about the rotation just a little bit. We're going to go over this. The basic rotation of Feral Druids is keeping your bleeds up in PvP. You know, you want that Rake. You want to build up to 5 combo points, keeping your Moonfire on the target. You also want to keep up your Rip. You have your Rake, your Rip, and also Thrash can do a lot of damage if you have, God, what is it? Predatory Swiftness? No. God, it's a free cast. You get a free cast. Forgive me for not knowing the name of it. I actually did a hard regrowth there. You're gonna have to forgive me for that one too, guys. But basically the gist here, let's talk about Burst, because for the Feral Druid rotation, you want to use your Blood Talons to empower Rake and Rip all of the time. It's pretty standard. And then, you know, go from there. Keep applying your bleeds, apply your Moonfire, get up to 5 combo point. While your Rip is still ticking, you can use Ferocious Bite, especially because these Rips are lasting longer. If we take a look at it, the duration on Rip is actually about 25 seconds now. So you have the ability to get up to a few combo points and Ferocious Bite like one time between the duration of your Rip and the reapplication of it. So I can put up another Rip. I used, you know, Ferocious Bite in between and I'm good to go. For the Burst though, I like to get up to 2 or 3 combo points with Blood Talons available. I like to put up Ashamane's Frenzy, put a Rip on the target, then a Rake, you know. I build up to 5 combo points, use Blood Talons, Ferocious Bite, put another Rake on the target with that extra Blood Talons because you want to make sure it's enhanced. And then I like to go in with Blood Talons and Brutal Slash for some big damage. And you can keep doing this, always like keeping a steady pace after you use Ashamane's Frenzy, because Ashamane's Frenzy will increase the damage of any abilities that follow it as long as the dot is still on the target. So you do want to pump out as much damage as you can after applying Ashamane's Frenzy, and the reason for this is because of the talent Bloodletter's Frailty. If we read this, Ashamane's Frenzy also increases the damage your feral abilities deal to afflicted targets by 30%. So imagine having that 30% plus the 20% that comes with Blood Talons, and what you do is you Ashamane's Frenzy, you can get some big damage off. You put a Rip on the target after that, and then you follow with the Blood Talons Rake, and then if you still have time, you get some Blood Talons Brutal Slashes. You do an amazing amount of burst, and it is awesome. And you can throw in Tiger's Fury in there too, because Tiger's Fury will also do a heaping amount of damage. and it'll give you, you know, the possibility of granting 600 versatility, you know, to you and 4 allies. You know, you get that versatility on there. You get the energy. It's amazing, everybody. You get all sorts of benefits when you pop Tiger's Fury with everything else, and that is why I go with Savage Momentum. That is why it's necessary, everybody. So that's basically it for the rotation. I know I went through it quickly. I went through the talents a little quickly. But if you enjoy this video, and if you have any comments, first of all, leave them in the comment section if you have any questions, because I can answer them, or anybody else who enjoys Feral Druid and is watching this video, I'm sure will help out and answer those questions. And if you want to join the Discord server for the Feral Druid army, we have one set up, and I will put it in the description. You can head over there, we can talk, you can look for a group if you need a mythic group, PvP group, anything for that matter, and it's a fun place to hang out. Thank you all for checking out this video. If it helped you, don't forget to subscribe and join the Feral Druid army, and catch me on live stream. I go live quite frequently here on YouTube. I'll see you all in the next video. I hope you have a good time in Argus and in 7.3.